Same.
Right. So the first thing I kind of went through, actually, okay, so, and I don't know how relevant it was, but one of the things that kind of happened was I always feel really tired, and I got the intuition that I had to wake up, like keep going, or whatever. And I recognized as I'm learning more, I see myself in the mirror, but I'm like, I don't like that, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to put that down. But as I went through that, and started to see that I couldn't continue with guilt or obligation or that kind of feeling. So I still had to do what I needed to do, because a part of me for like the first day felt really guilty for my behavior. So anyway, so I got actually through that, and then realized I still have to give myself this sense so that I can grow up myself. And so he kind of went through that with me. However...
Hold on, you're talking about your husband?
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't say he went through that. I think when I was going through the guilty, remorseful phase, he was thinking, okay, good, it looks like we're going to just keep moving forward with the plans that we've had to move in together and stuff like that.
Hold on. I am so lost. I don't even know.
Okay, yeah, I'm moving really fast, so.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. I know you're talking about, like, what's going on.
Right, so the first thing I went through was just almost feeling like in a complete daze over everything. So I knew I wanted to move forward, but then after he had a session with you, it sounded like he just sounded really supportive and...
Yeah, he wanted, the goal is to give you space.
Right.
To, like, let you be alone.
Yeah, he's had a problem with that. I mean, one of the things that he's basically said was that you're trying to do a divide and conquer. I got the whole breaking up the family thing. Basically, he's
Hold
says
on.
that I'm being your minion.
Oh my God. That's what he said?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. You know how much he...
I was like, well, I'd rather be a free minion and make my own choices. If I'm going to be I know I'm a minion, okay? Fine.
You know how much he thanked me when we had our session, and how much he appreciated it, and how much he was so excited, and how much he's seen so much change in you. So if he's turning around, he is selfish. He's got his own problems that he's not. And I kind of felt that. He wasn't really opening up. He was more talking about how he thought you were so pretty and beautiful. And I just want you to know, it sounds like he's not wanting you. He's not secure enough in himself to just let things occur. I said that so many times.
Yeah.
You need to let her have this freedom, because if you can let her do that, you can trust that if she really loves you, you have nothing to be afraid of. So.
Right, because I even began to understand, like, the whole concept of daddy issues being that child that wants to go out and the dad or even the mom is like, no, it's not safe out there. Like, you...
In a way, they're saying,
here.
You suck. Yeah.
And the little 2-year-old's like, well, I want to go play over, kind of thing. So I was trying to explain to him that that's my issue. That's a personal... I'm not blaming him for it. But then I still get all the shoulds. You need to do this, like as if I need to hurry up and get my shit together so fast. And I feel like I'm moving at lightning speed right now.
Hold on, he needs to shut the fuck up. He needs to shut up.
Right.
He is really parenting you still.
Right.
Oh my God. He didn't get anything out of that session.
Yeah. He even I was trying to tell him, like, just this morning, I was like, deep down, I know we really love each other, because I was getting to that place where I felt like we even though we're in this codependency, he actually got offended and basically felt like I was trying to control him, like I was putting words in his mouth, as if I had some motive to tell him that deep down I believe we really love each other. So he thinks that now I have a motive. Now, I wasn't coming from that. I was actually trying to make a connection.
Yeah, don't worry about him. You need to just let him have his problems. It's not, again, don't let his issues become yours, because then you're still his slave. You have battered wife syndrome. I told him that.
Right.
I'm like, it's not just you. It's your father, your boyfriend, and him. And he's participating. He didn't even open up about that. I don't think he really wanted to have anything. I don't think he really wanted to hear what I had to say. I think he wanted to confirm with me that he loves you and he's in love with you. I think he wanted to just pry into this situation. And that's common. I've had parents call me and get involved with their children's work, their daughter's work. And it's like they just can't let go. And they don't see that that's what's the problem.
Right.
It's like desperate codependency. It has nothing to do with love. It has to do with selfish needs that he's serving through you. Like he's afraid of what he can't handle, and you're now his persecutor. I just can't tell you enough and support you enough that in order for this to work, you need to have your boundaries, know where he wants you to adapt to him.
Right.
I mean, the fact that you were like, I split up the family, is that something he told you?
Yeah, he's saying
that's hilarious
being
because
selfish and everything like that.
Okay, so here's the thing: would he rather you be insane and miserable?
That's
so do you see how he's
like? I feel like I'm getting eaten from the inside out, and you want me to have a family. I was like, you just want me to have a family until I get into the great, because I'm moving towards. And I feel like if he actually looked from my perspective, he knows, but he refuses to.
Yeah, so you just need to move forward as if this is it.
Yeah.
I think yeah, and you know what? If it works out in the end and he gets his shit together, then great. Right. But this type of controllingness is why you're messed up, this way. Why this is it. He wants you to stay held hostage.
Right.
He can't see that.
Yeah, I mean, he barely likes to leave me alone because he doesn't want me to have a thought for myself.
No, he clearly is clutching.
Left this morning, but he also took our son, which I'm not sure if that was a great idea or not at this point. Because
let him deal.
But because he even said he'd take Timmy from me, and I was like, well, that's on your conscience if you're gonna try to do that. I was like, that's, So.
He's really, really gripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that if he starts to become abusive, you need to make sure that you start taking notes.
Right.
Because this now sounds like he's starting to, this is called like a form of divorce abuse, where he's making the child a weapon. So start taking notes, dates, times, what he says. Just even if you don't end up separating or getting divorced, this is really important for you to log, because this is absolute abusiveness, psychological abuse. And again, you're coming out of it and you're seeing it for what it is.
Right.
And he clearly is freaking clueless. He's clueless.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think he's intending to be that way. But he certainly is desperate and controlling and dominating. And the way he was in that phone conversation, it just was like, yeah, I think he was just trying to smooth schmooze.
Right.
He didn't hear anything I said.
And he's like, I would say he's a master at that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I saw right through it. The fact that I saw right No, he's not.
No, I know.
He's the same as everybody else that tries it. He's not special at it. He's no different than every other pathological narcissist that is in fear. He's responding as if you're his property. You are his property.
Right. is why he doesn't care if he'll use me to
No, that's why he's trying to put this in. Yeah, you're being selfish by preserving my life, my soul. That's selfish? Sure. Okay. So what is it for him to demand that you go back into an environment that is toxic for his needs, right? It's not that you're, you need to just, it needs to become very clear to you. And so the way he's relating to you, that has to change. If he wants to salvage this marriage, he's going to have to change that position. The other thing that was so clear to me when we talked is, because I had talked about the homeschooling, he kept on saying it was so great before. Like, he really wants you to go back and homeschool, just so that you know, the way you did before. Okay. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. I kept on being
really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no, she's not going to, no, that's not healthy. She can't, no, no.
Wow. You know, it's funny because he never mentioned anything about talking about the homeschool.
Well, he mentioned it multiple times.
He would have eventually mentioned it to me.
Well, he mentioned it a couple times. He wasn't like saying that's what she should do. He mentioned it in a way, and I was just like, and I just kept on saying, no, that's not healthy for her. Well, she must not be able to do it. Nope, she can't. And that's okay. Right. Is that something she should feel bad about? You know, he listened, but he definitely had an agenda.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And if he's calling you a minion after what we talked about, that had nothing to do with me.
No, that's his own, I believe that's his own thought process being projected onto you now, because he's the one who tries to do that to people.
Well, and he's losing his control. So, right. And he probably thinks I'm the center of giving you this independence. Oh my God, you poor thing. So, but you know what? Good for you for having such clarity.
It's coming quick.
Good for you. Yeah, you just need to stay steadfast around what you're doing, what you need for your well-being. You know your intentions are not malicious. You know that it's actually to benefit the whole at this point. And he can create whatever he thinks you're doing. But if he can't trust you, and he doesn't love you, if he cannot honor that, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And when he says I just want you to know, and he says to you, you're so beautiful, you need to see right past that. Because he thinks that's what you need, is to be complimented on your looks.
Right.
That's what he thinks this is. That's how shallow he thinks this is.
Yeah, no, he does talk about really, really shallow, like, things that he thinks I'm thinking that I actually get blown out of the water, that he actually thinks that's my problem. But he'd be like, are you just trying to control me because I didn't pay enough attention to you? This is all about attention.
I've never said anything like that. Not at all, buddy. It's a little too much.
So sorry.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with being paid attention to. Now, he's creating his own beliefs in his head, and there's nothing you can do about that. You can just let him have it. You can have compassion for the fact that he's feeling really insecure, but you need to have boundaries. You really need to set your boundaries and continue to confirm that you love him, that you want to be with him, but you gotta not be mentally ill. You know, and I had said to him, I was like, you know, the ladies that are at home and they pop pills and have horrible mental health problems. I said, that's your wife. She's just doing it in a different way. You know, she's losing herself. She's, you know how the mom that commits suicide and you didn't know, that's your wife.
Right.
And he was like, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, she has battered wife syndrome. This is very codependent symptoms. Like, she's lost her shit. She's never really had it. Now she's starting to show signs of being held hostage. She has to get out and get her sanity. And I had confirmed to him on multiple times, she is dedicated. I said to him on multiple occasions, she is dedicated to you. She's dedicated to you. She loves you. She cares about you. This is not about you. I said that so many times. This is not about you. This is about her getting her shit, her well-being back, her sense of self back. That's a threat to him.
Right.
Now it didn't come. He didn't say anything. Every time I said that, he didn't respond. But I'm listening to you now, going, "Oh, he's threatened by the fact that you're because he's afraid that if you're independent, that you're not going to love him anymore. He's not going to have a purpose anymore." And I think that for you, to give yourself this space and to honor what works for you, because he's not aware. He can't do it. He's so self-centered around what his needs are right now that he can't even fathom what you're really going through. And you just have to forgive him for not really having a clue. And and have compassion for the fact that he's now paranoid and thinks it's all about him. So some of these behaviors, you're just going to have to, it's like a little kid who's angry at you and wants to throw a fit and punches you in the thigh and it doesn't hurt.
Right.
And you just got to go, oh, okay. But when it comes to using your children as weapons, you need to document this stuff, because this in court, at some point, if he becomes really bad, just not saying that's going to happen, but if he starts to become abusive, you're going to want to have this stuff written down.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can start, because he even...
Yeah, and just some of the things he's saying.
Like, he never even paid attention to his son, like, ever, and he started developing a relationship right when we started moving here. So even just beginning the process of trying to get him attached, get his son attached to him, basically.
Yeah, and so what he's doing, it's a form of marital abuse, or divorce abuse. So if you look up divorce abuse, there's going to be a list of things that occurs when the one person is combating the other person and using the children as weapons, manipulating the children, and that is absolute psychological abuse that can leave the child intensely damaged psychologically, because you're forming these relationships and bonding with your parents in a war zone.
Right.
Yeah, and you're being manipulated. So if he's starting to threaten you by saying he's going to take your son,
right,
you feel like you might be in a battered wife situation?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, now it's becoming clear, and I think I kind of knew he was going to be that way in our last session. I kind of remember being like, yeah, I don't think he's going to do well. So
well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
But I wasn't giving myself that.
Yeah, just don't participate. Be like, that's fine. So. I need to, and you can think this is selfish, but you can either have me come home and commit suicide and actually lose my shit. You don't have to threaten him with that, but be like, and have me with mental illness and depression. I can do that, which isn't really going to help my children at all. Or I can fix these issues inside of myself and come back healthy and be in a better position for our children and for our marriage. So which one would you rather? You want to give me this opportunity? And you could say, yeah, you know what? It is selfish, because I can tell that I am now in a position to where I am not very beneficial in the home. In fact, I'm actually hindering in the home because I am psychologically going through big issues.
Right.
The ability for you to communicate that's going to be helpful for him. It's not your job to make sure that his crazy assumptions and his paranoia, it's not your job to make his paranoia go away. He is responsible for that. What is your job is to communicate your truth and be as honest and truthful as possible. From there, it's his job to deal. It's his job to be vulnerable. You can't make him be vulnerable with you. And the sucky part about it is if he would have the humility to actually surrender his concept of what he wants you to be as a wife, because that's what you're being held to.
Okay.
All right, it's a concept. He thinks that this is what you should do, and this is your job.
Right.
And he has a vision of you complying to that.
Right.
Stay at home mom, fixing the food, wearing an apron, wearing high heels, being super hot, making sure the kids do this. This is her job. Super patriarch, misogyny bullshit. Okay?
Right.
And you clearly are suffering. And if
Yeah.
he thinks that if he loves this role that he has for you more than you know what? It'll land where it's going to land, even if you do care for him.
Yeah, no, he already said, he was like, well, if you're saying you're free, that means I can go, he implied that he's going to go date. I was like, yeah, I guess that's what that means, because apparently you might want to find someone else
who will fit that
role for you, who's still learning and whatever. And that's,
oh my God.
That's, yeah.
Holy shit. That takes some serious evolution right there to have that type of willfulness to go into the vulnerability of, you know what? I love you. I care about you. You should find a woman who is willing to comply to that. And because she's going to be better for you, because I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. I love you. I care about you. And I do want to be with you. I want this to work, but not like this. This is a toxic environment. Won't do it. Find someone else if that's the case. And how did he respond to that?
He didn't really say anything. So, or he's
he
says, well, that's not what I really want.
See, backtrack.
He wants me to actually fulfill that role.
And you just have to say, I'm not going to. So we need to change. This is going to change. So what you need to start doing, Melanie, is making notes and logs. You need to start taking notes. So what you do is you get like a little, a little notepad. Yep. And you write the date, phone call, and you start logging some of this stuff only because it's for your own self-protection if something were to go wrong.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, if you find that he's starting to have the humility to say, I love you, I'm dedicated to you, and I'd rather let go of these beliefs, then there's no point, right? It's really a matter of him realizing and the willfulness. Well, and this is the hardest part, is he loves his ideals more than he loves you at this point, right? So as you continue to say, if you love me, you're going to let me be real. I don't want to be fake anymore. I want a real life. I want a real person. I want to be real. I don't want to be fake anymore. I don't want to play some role so that you can be happy. I'm not happy. It sucks. As you continue to honor that truth in you, and not in a blame way, which I'm hearing you're doing a good job with that. It's really, this isn't right for me. As you continue to do that, he's experiencing some cognitive dissonance, which is, my beliefs are here, but I love her and she's not doing it anymore. So there is this conflict from a belief to what he really loves about you. If he really loves you, he will see that I just can't care about those beliefs anymore, because my love for her goes beyond that. So I want to be with her enough, and I love her enough that I'm okay with what and I won't feel like a victim anymore. Because see how you're now his persecutor, so it's all flipped. You're his persecutor. Right. I'm his persecutor over here, right? Even though I'm caring for your psychological needs and helping you. Right. He's the victim. Poor me, you're doing this to me. Really, I'm actually helping myself, and I'm no longer complying to that role. So that role is, in effect, victimizing him. It's not you. The role that he wants, that's why he's a victim. And you just aren't playing it anymore. See, codependency is so toxic.
Yeah, and that's what I realized. I was like, well, if I get better, until he actually deals with his stuff, it doesn't matter. So there has to be time.
Yep.
Because I knew this would come up for him.
Oh my God,
and
you are
going to turn on me.
I just want, you are so you got it. You are so doing great. I am so proud of you right now. Like, wow. Because when you come out of it, Melanie, let me tell you something. when people come out of Stockholm syndrome or battered wife syndrome, it is like a snap. It's like, boom, all of a sudden everything is clear and you can see the abuse. You didn't see it before because you believed in that system. You believed in that fantasy. And so you didn't think that there was something wrong with the fantasy or what you were, the model you were trying to subscribe to. You just thought you sucked. You come out of it and you're like, whoa, hold on a second. That's not okay. So that's I just want you to know, when people come out of Stockholm syndrome or battered wife syndrome, it is like click, and all of a sudden things are very clear. So what you used to think was the right thing to do and what you should be doing and what you deserve to experience is now you are seeing it as abusive. This is abusive. Nobody should have to conform to that to just feel okay about themselves, right? You shouldn't have to, just for someone to like you. Like, you shouldn't have to be that role just for him to like you. He likes the role, not you, right? And so that's
ineffective. You're basically taking your voice, you're shoving it way down into the pit of your stomach.
You're killing it. You're literally killing it. Yeah, you have none. You're hollow inside. You're fake. It's not real. Yeah. You have no essence of creativity. And then you're going to compensate. So you compensated through a variety of different mechanisms, right? Because body image is one way to have some autonomy. It's my body. I can do what I want with it. But you are still complying to this misogyny. Then supremacy, which is all about the male penis for some reason nowadays. So it's like, well, hold on. Who am I doing this for? Well, I'm doing it because I'm supposed to play this role and I want to look this way and I want to be that for him and I want to be that. So it's for me. You know, the big picture. And then not realizing why you're hoarding and eating food to compensate for all these feelings of vulnerability because you have no choices. You have no voice. The only thing you have a voice over is either one, you're dieting in the body, or you're using food to have some sense of safety within yourself.
Right.
Oh my God.
And to me, that's just being completely, like, that's the mind disconnected from the heart. So the mind at that point, like,
totally.
You know, it knows nothing. It cannot do, like, the more I think about it that way. And then I just found my voice, how to actually speak. So, of course, I'm not going to give that up. So that
no, not now.
Like, that's never going to happen.
No, well, that's the thing. Now that you have this, you're aware, I really have to protect my life. Because it's not his life. It's the one I'm experiencing. He doesn't own me. Even though that's really what this is, the relationship is starting to become. Is that codependent, he's taking care of me, I need him. That gives him a sense of purpose, and that gives you a sense of he loves me, and it's so dysfunctional, right?
Yeah.
And it's not really love at all. There's no love involved in it. It's just work and compliance, right? Have you looked up codependency? Have you done any research on what that is?
I do understand how the two people fill different roles for each other. So, but I haven't gotten a chance to, like, really
delve into
read a book or something into it yet.
So the therapist and psychologist who created it's called the Karpman's Drama Triangle, Karpmans.
Okay, and I did look that up,
Yeah, he's got some awesome stuff out there.
Okay.
Pamphlets of he's actually written pamphlets on codependency, mother-daughter relationships, codependency, father-daughter relationships, codependency, marriage. And he actually has created, and I highly recommend you Google him. And Google, go to Amazon and Google what he's written, or I think he's retired, but I don't know, Karpman, Karpman. And I don't know, there's some really good stuff out there around the controllingness and how it can become like hostage situation. Right. And that's where battered wife syndrome comes into play, as you are there to serve the master.
Right.
And so at some point you believed that that is the righteous, that's how life is. Like you must have internalized that concept for you to comply to it.
Right. And I feel like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I can almost see from his perspective that, like, Daddy brings home the bacon and everybody's like, yay, you're so wonderful. Look at you. You're awesome. You know, and that's what he's getting out of it. He's getting all this admiration.
Well, it's so 1950s, 1940s concept where the woman's place was, your place is to be submissive to me.
Right, to give me my adoration. Right.
You bought it. You said that was right. At some point, not realizing that, oh, there's a reason why that generation had the 60s and the 70s. Which was the breakout, right? Generation from that. And then we're pendulum swinging back in the 80s. Let's go back to the family and the religious rigidity. And that, you live in the South, which is like 50 years behind anyways.
Yeah, I would say we're very behind.
Oh, yeah. Sure. And so you're complying to this concept that has clear damaging effects, right?
Yeah.
Just the rest of the country's aware of that now.
Yeah.
In general, not everywhere.
Out there to already be had, so we can catch up quickly once we catch on.
Well, that's the thing. Once you come out of it, you're like, oh, I'll never do that again. I'll never ever surrender my soul again and comply to someone else's needs to receive my needs in return. I will fulfill my needs, and then I can just love that person.
Right.
It's very selfish. That's the thing with codependency, is extremely selfish on every part of it is extremely self-centered. So the truth of the matter is, by you breaking out of it, he is going to think you're being self-centered. But the truth of the matter, right? The real truth is, by you breaking out, that is in effect an act of love.
Right.
You're not leaving him. You're actually making yourself whole so that you don't have to rely on him so selfishly.
Yeah, because there's no control. You're basically saying, okay, I'm going to give up.
Yeah, I don't need you to perform for me. Okay. Exactly. I don't need you to tell me you're so beautiful. You know what? Fuck off. I'm a great person.
No.
Like, is that all he really needs to do, is just tell you you're beautiful?
Right.
No.
Yeah, I don't exactly.
No. Sorry. Doesn't work. I want someone who's nice to me. I want someone who really cares about my well-being. If this is what it takes for me to get better, I should do that. Because it benefits ultimately the whole family. The whole family will benefit from me becoming whole and real. The connection that you're going to have with your kids is about to be even more profound and deeper, because you'll see them as individuals, not programs. I have to get them programmed. We have to get them to perform. All of a sudden, you're going to see them as whole beings that really should have the freedom to be who they really are in life. Of course, we have to get them prepared to live in this program, right? Our cultural systems, but don't make that who they are. That's not who they are. The only way for you to teach that to your kids is to do that for yourself.
Right.
And you've been pretty deeply programmed into the patriarch.
Yep, I was a good girl. I was a very good girl growing up.
Right. Well, and the thing is that
I did the best at, cutting myself off so that I can make other people happier. Definitely, I did thrive on that, though. I was like super straight A, like.
Oh yeah, you get benefit. It's the positive reinforcement, of course, but it's all for their approval, not your own personal approval. So you've never really personally approved of yourself until now.
Right, yeah.
How's that feel? How's it feel when you do it for yourself? And it's unconditional too. Because you could say, before I would have looked at this and said, I suck, I'm failed, I'm weak, I'm incapable, I'm ruining everything, and you would feel terrible. The beauty of this is that I I'm worthy of fixing this, and none of this is unforgivable. It was going to be inevitable. It was inevitable. And the worst thing of the lessers of the bads, right? And this is where I went in my own mind too. If it's between my mother's love, who I definitely had some issues with, if it's between hurting her by leaving the religion or committing suicide, which one is less hurtful? Because it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Not me. It's going to hurt her because that's her language. That's her culture. That's her identity. Right? So if I'm no longer complying to that, that's the lesser. I will do her a favor and not commit suicide. Yeah. But if I were to go back in there, this is about to end.
And I almost feel like when I really started to go into it, I don't know if comply or almost a feeling of cowering. Like I almost feel like it was more where you cower and then you react with that survival mode. So when I really understood that whole like the way you shrink sort of thing when you comply, that made that feeling, I was able to be like, yeah. You're cowering in front of someone and you're like, okay.
Yeah, because you're basically saying I'm weak and incapable and I suck and here you go and take control of me and because I'm pathetic. Yeah, that's that shame. There's some shame involved in that shrinking.
Yeah, and as a child wanting to be loved, so of course you're going to
be eager.
Do that, right? So, yeah. So now I just have to actually be strong enough to go through the attacks, which I hope, I feel like today could be a big turning point where he's going to decide if he's going to consider me his mortal enemy or...
well, the beauty of it is that's not what's going on.
I don't know.
That's not what's going on here. That's because your integrity, right? So he can make up any story. But I think what would be helpful for you is to have compassion for where he's at. Because I think you're aware, well, of course he's going to do all this. He thinks I'm leaving him. He's projecting his shit onto me as if I function the same way. And I don't.
Right.
So you forgive him as he's attacking you.
Yeah. And I think I can see that I was in that place, so I can remember, I remember when I was in that place, and that's what I did, because I didn't know any better. So.
No, and he's going into his survival mechanisms, too. He's in survival mechanisms. So if you just be clear around your integrity and what your true intentions are. And just know if he comes up with all sorts of shit and he's making up stories and he's saying it's true, you just have to go, that's not even true. And don't negotiate with it. Because that's his way of maintaining power, is to throw a bone and have you chase it. This is what you're doing. And and if you go, no, I did it. Now you're playing the game.
Right.
You're best to just be able to say, okay, well, I can see why you would think that, but that's nowhere close to true. But you know what? I can't take responsibility for what you're making up here. This is my integrity. This is truly what my goal is. I care about you. I love you, but I'm not going to be that role. And if you don't love me, if I'm not that role, that's fine. You need to find someone that you can love in that role, because you love the role.
Right.
He can't get past it. He can't get past that. That's like his religion.
Yeah, and I think what's tempting, and not that I know, but if I were him, I would know that there's a lot of other women that would be happy to play that, so why would I give that up when I can just go find somebody else? So it would be tempting to not deal with your own issues and just go. Totally.
Oh, it would be so much easier. And then to blame you for being at fault, when the truth of the matter is, the issue for you is the role that he wants you to play. It's not him. Make sense?
Yeah, I don't know if else who's going to see that, but I guess I have to give him that space because I used to do the whole teaching thing. Going to help him see and get, and that I have to give. I have to relinquish that.
That's what I meant by you need to have the boundaries that you're not. He might say something, and if you go to defend yourself, you're playing. Because you're basically saying what he is saying is a threat, and it could be true. And if it's not, don't respond to it. You just have to be like, yeah, no, that's just ridiculous. That's nowhere close. But if you know what, if you believe that, I could see why you would be upset. So you can have compassion, but you don't need to constantly defend yourself from what you're doing, which is the right thing to do for you. You know, just know that if he believes his own thoughts about this, just take notes. Just date, time, conversations, recall. The threat, he did threaten to take your son from you. That needs to be written down. You need to write that down.
Okay.
And you need to, have a very specific binder for this. This is what this is for. So it's not random.
Okay.
Because you never know. And again, if this works out, you can just burn it. It doesn't matter. He shouldn't be defined by his coping mechanisms here.
Right.
It's hardcore stuff. However, in a court of law, when it comes to the children, you're going to want to have these are legal documents. If they're dated and you write in pen.
Okay.
And you have them in sequential order of dates. This date, that date, right?
Okay.
That's why I said you need to have your own dedicated little notepad, and then you just start writing what you talked about. And you can write things that are positive or negative, but in the end, it'll help you not be so confused. Because that's the other thing is he's gonna try to confuse you unintentionally, but as soon as he starts to feel vulnerable or that you're secure, he's going to try to create insecurity for you. Because it gives him a sense of hope. She needs me. She sucks. And he'll try to confuse you, change the subject, throw you off, and that's gaslighting is what that's called. You're crazy.
Yeah. Well, and he did that for a long time, and
You know what gaslighting is? Have you looked that up?
Yeah, unfortunately, my last marriage, I can't say I did a whole lot better this time around, but I guess I didn't get the help, or I somehow was still not clear, and I was blaming myself still. I guess still did that. So, but yeah, and I can see how that's been happening. But I wanted to believe he was better. I wanted this time to be better and to work. So I put so much effort into making this relationship work. Even though you shouldn't have to. Similar to,
Yeah, but you can look back and go, no one should work that hard to just be okay in their marriage. Think of the effort. Like you said, I put so much effort. Well, marriage, if you really love each other, shouldn't be that intense. You shouldn't have to completely kill yourself and completely remove your real soul for someone else so your marriage works. That's not how it should work. You should have.
And I can take responsibility that I didn't know where or how to speak up for my soul already before we even got together. So
totally.
I guess it's not you, it's me thing, but he's like, well, you just need to get over that.
I am. See, and that's what I feel like I'm doing. I feel like I'm actually getting to that place. So this should be something he will want for you in the long run. Oh my God, it just cracks me up that conversation literally didn't even enter it didn't even enter.
Yeah.
The conversation I had with him.
Yeah, when I talked to him after, it was all about what he said. Like, he just was talking about what he told you. Maybe he didn't really talk about what you said. Or he felt like you were brainwashing me. So, I was like, okay.
Okay.
I was like, well, at least I feel better. So, I'm going to take this brainwashing over yours. How about that? Like, just kidding. But,
that's hilarious.
he's giving himself away because I know he's projecting his own
right?
thoughts.
Yeah.
So it is interesting how he's giving away his own thought process without seeing that. But
yeah, brainwashing, if it was brainwashing, we would be telling you exactly what to think, exactly how to talk. You'd have to memorize it. So that's what brainwash is, like a memorized concept.
Yeah.
Whereas there's no concept. I'm just saying you need to be yourself. You need to be real. You need to let that have a voice. I guess I don't know. Is that brainwashing?
Right. I think, if he sees me as not having made choices, if I'm saying like, okay, well, I don't know how to speak for my own self. Well, okay, now somebody else is going to tell you. Like, no, she just pointed me to where I need to go to myself to find my own answers of how I'd like to live my life or whatnot. So, yeah.
And that's brainwashing. I'm going to tell you to be free to do what's right for you. Be careful, people. That's brainwashing. Because you're supposed to do what you're told, not be free. Okay? That freedom and liberty to be independent in your soul, be careful of that stuff. I get how he's thinking that, because that's how people stay held hostage in religion, because they think if you don't have a religion, you're being arrogant to say you don't need God.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's a way to get people to comply out of the fear of arrogance. So if you're autonomous and you're using your free will, you're self-centered.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting how the whole belief system feeds itself in a way.
Yeah, well, it's based on fear. If you think about it, it's based on fear. It's just like based on our primal feelings of what could go wrong. And, everything he's believing and feeling is actually true to him. And it sucks for him because he's limited. And this may be it. You might have kind of gone past him.
Yeah, I can see that. I probably kind of have been for some time, but I wasn't putting all the pieces together because I had been studying all sorts of stuff that was kind of it's like I had the puzzle kind of, but I didn't know how to put it together. And then once I started figuring it out, it was going pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, and again,
I'm kind of almost leave it. I mean, and then I feel like, well, in the past I've felt like I need to explain it to him, and then I'll start this like educator thing because I do like to share knowledge.
Yeah, but you might be trying to convince him and get approval and that's essentially what you're doing is by doing that, you're saying, will you approve of this? Can you sign on the line to give me you're my guarantor?
Right. Right.
You're my like a father that will say, okay, I approve.
Right.
You got to get to where you approve for yourself, and which gives him. He doesn't have to approve, or he can approve. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's approvable to you, and that's good enough. You don't need him to approve of it.
Right.
This is such a foreign way of thinking for people that have always been under a controlled concept of reality.
Right.
Because now you're using your own consciousness to make decisions. You're not using it brainwashing. You're not using concepts to decide. You're actually using your own awareness, your own thoughts, your own feelings to guide you. To people who are into being controlled, that's vulnerable. That's, again, and they can perceive it. If they have that narcissism, they can perceive that as narcissistic, right?
Right.
Because that's how they think about their superior controlling mechanisms.
Yeah. And you know what? I feel like I do still feel that, like, am I capable? But it's a struggle that is worth for me the challenge, because that's that growth that I think we inevitably really want to grow. That's like built into human nature. So that part of being like, well, maybe I feel incapable, but I'm going to try it anyway. Like, I'm just going to have to try. Yeah, you know, he could tell me I'm not capable of whatever, going out in the world and being successful, but oh well, you know, I'm sure I'll fall down a few times.
Well, the question you have to ask is, does he want that for you? Does he want you to fail, or does he want you to go out in the world and be successful? Does he really care about you?
Right.
You hear that? Like, if he's going to say those things or thinks those things, he doesn't love you.
Yeah.
What would you want for someone you love?
Yeah, you'd want to see them be happy because it makes you happy.
Well, you want to see them thrive. If you're wanting to feel independent, he's going to want you to feel that. You go get it. I can handle this right now. It's no different than, imagine that you check into a recovery center. What's he going to do? Complain that you're not home taking care of the kids because you're being selfish at a recovery center?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, that's what he's doing.
Right. Yeah.
Does he really care about you? Really? You know, you have to be able to see the difference between him caring about his beliefs more than he does you. And in the end, if he does love you, he'll surrender those beliefs and want to be with you.
Yeah.
When you're ready, and he won't hold you. He won't hold any resentments for you because he can see the benefit of what you're doing.
Yeah.
If he can't, then you just have to, again, it's like, well, what's the truth of the marriage? This is really, it's coming out. What's the truth of his dedication to me? Well, if I play that role, he can find anybody to play that role. He can. He'll find someone else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he'll find somebody else for me.
Yeah, and eventually that person's going to lose her shit too.
Yeah.
Or he will next because it's too much work. Because he's got to micromanage you. He's got to micromanage who's in there.
Right. Yeah.
You sound really, you sound good. This all sounds like, holy shit, you're doing so well.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was going to make it. Like, after I talked to you, and then I talked to him after his session with you, I almost started, I don't want to say backpedaling, but I was, like, moving still, and I didn't feel like I'd go forward. And then I had to go through really looking at myself and forgiving myself for that behavior that I knew wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
But that was me, that was the reaction because of the illness or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're losing your mind. Yeah, you do have to forgive yourself under those circumstances. And you can see that anybody under the circumstance would have done the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's, you crack, you know, you lose yourself. And now you're recovering.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I was hoping he probably was going to be more supportive or whatnot. But
well, he is in his way. He is being supportive, but to him, the support is conditional. He has an idea of what you're going to do, and you're going to come back, and you're going to go back to this role, and everything's going to be better.
Yes, I think he's definitely holding out for that right now.
Yeah, he doesn't realize that there's no way.
Right.
How would that feel? Tell me how that would feel to go back into that.
Oh, I don't even think I'd last a day. Yeah, it wouldn't work. And I even tried telling him that too. It's like, now that I'm more aware, it makes it almost, I mean, it would be like actually possible. I'd be sitting around probably, you know, cracking up like a crazy person or something.
Well, yeah, you'd have to start taking drugs.
Yeah, it just,
because that environment is toxic. So you have to find some way to stay alive with an antidepressant, with some type of narcotic.
Yeah. That's
how that works.
Yeah, and that was one thing. He wanted me to go see a psychiatrist or whatever, and I'm not into taking, you know, chemical medication.
I really think you should, to be honest with you. Hold on, I really think you should. Because your ability to communicate right now is going to be, I have battered wife syndrome. I'm getting out. I'm getting out.
Okay.
He's holding me hostage.
Yeah.
That would be great, because at this point he thinks that I'm whatever he thinks, and that doesn't matter to me. So getting someone to go and getting evaluated would be freaking amazing. At this point, just so that you can confirm, yeah, Stockholm syndrome, battered wife syndrome, she needs her freedom. He thinks that's hilarious, but so I would do that.
Okay, yeah, just because I wouldn't take any drugs. I don't feel like I need to.
No, you don't. At this point, you don't. But
right.
But it would be really good for you to communicate. Like, I feel. First of all, I'm loving and devoted to him, but I feel like I'm coming out of battered wife syndrome. I was essentially held hostage, and he wants me to go back. And how do I salvage a marriage where I'm not willing to do that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can look into that then. That's probably a good idea for my own.
Yeah, make sure you tell him. Robin said I should for sure.
Yeah.
Not that he needs to know, but
no.
I totally would agree.
Yeah, he wants a second opinion.
Yeah, I do.
That's fine.
Well, at this point, you kind of already understand it yourself.
Right. So, yeah. And,
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Yeah, I have to start thinking of my own defense as well, so, because I'm not 100% sure which direction this is going, so I do have to start being more diligent.
I think you should. And I do think you should. Yeah. And I think by going to a certified psychiatrist that can actually talk to you and you can open up to, now that we have an awareness of what's going on, that will be really important in terms of self-defense in a court, just in case.
Yeah.
So I went and they agreed this was a battered wife situation. He didn't physically beat you up, but this way of existing was not good.
Yeah.
And he's threatened to take my children, and I have this all in place.
Yeah.
It's just protecting yourself. It might not be necessary to use any of it if he starts to come to. But yeah, I do think that's the first thing you should do. Absolutely.
And I don't even think I'd tell him I was going through it. Just I'd plop it on at court if needed.
I would absolutely go and be forthright around. I was having these eating disorder issues, and I come to realize that I was doing it because of this situation. I was homeschooling. I wasn't getting out. He controls all the money. I can't get out. I can't do anything. And in the process of getting coaching for it, it comes to that I feel like I just can't go back into it. And he thinks that I should go back. And I don't know. You'll do it. You'll do what you need to do. Just being honest.
Yeah.
And maybe be like, sounds like you're doing so much better. What do you need from me? Diagnose it. Is this battered wife syndrome?
Yeah.
But I don't know why you would. The other part about it is if you know you're done, why does it matter?
Yeah. I feel like he can only fight if I put up a fight to fight with.
I totally agree with you. That's why I'm like,
like I kind of, like the Care Bear stare, sort of like, I know what you're doing, so I'm not going to. I love you, and we're not going to go there.
That's hilarious.
Sort of master. I don't think he'll have anything to fight with, and then I may not have as many issues. But I do see that I potentially it could be pretty nightmarish, actually.
Well, what's worse than what you were just living in?
Careful.
This is where it's like, well, you could go back into what you've been doing.
Right.
Which one's worse?
Which is definitely not going to happen. So, yeah, and the thing about not doing anything legally is I won't receive any support financially to even help, as I have, nothing really right now to, so I may have to file for a separation. Because he's not willingly going to give me anything, so.
No, because you're persecuting him. You've left him. You're ruining everything by keeping yourself sane. But yeah, just start logging if you can recall conversations and can date and time if you can.
I'll start that.
I would.
Right away, actually.
God, you have so much clarity. This session is clear to me, the clarity you are bringing to the table. So, awesome.
Yeah.